What's the word? What's the word?
Well, it would appear that it is that time again. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for the Bees of Boxing. I'm just sitting over here trying to do a show, and Steve is trying to freshen up for the camera, as it were. Listen, we got a lot of stuff to get into, Steve. I mean, it looks like there's TV deals going around for everybody. Everybody's getting a deal. It's like Oprah is handing these things out. I mean, we've got Boxer has a deal. We've got Zuffa has a deal, and we're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about what this Zuffa Boxing League, remember that word, league, really is, and how this Paramount deal can be explained, as I like to say, Zuffa Boxing for Dummies, because that's us, not you guys. Y'all are very smart, and I want to thank you so much for joining us here each and every time we do this on YouTube and also on all of your podcast providers. You can follow me at Notorious TID. You can follow Steve at World Weary Guy 1 over there. And speaking of followers, Steve, I want to get into this very quickly and see what you think about this, because our friend, my friend, your friend, Laz, not the first, not the second, but the third. That's right. It was such a good name that his grandfather decided to pass it down, and his father decided to pass it down. But this musical genius has sent in a piece that I want to get everybody's opinion on this. And more importantly, I want to get yours, because, I mean, it mentions you by name, right? Hang on one second, buddy. Let's get into this.
Punchlines like pressure. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Hey yo. Punchlines like pressure. Hey yo. 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 I only write tracks for Steve Swift reviews. He punched me twice in the face and asked for a duel. The pugilistic prophet with dubious diagnostics, like Scroobius Pip but less toxic. The UK comet shooting stars never lost it. It's 2025 and the internet still dies. Guys are chasing algorithms like a crack pipe high. Everybody base till a sponsor walks by, then they switch real quick like Trump stock slides. Rappers wearing dresses just to trend on a playlist. They call it gender fluid drip, I just call it shameless. Influencers say crypto but they pray to the goat. The only wad that they hold is a dude in their throats. These kids worship thumbnails, screaming hit that bell, but can't spell Shakespeare, just LOL. And those Charlie Kirk haters look stressed, no doubt arguing with memes till they Wi-Fi taps out.
Wow. And that's just a bit. It goes on. It goes on and on. Unbelievable stuff. Steve, what do you think, man? What do you think?
Well, clearly I love it. I mean, that gentleman can spit some bars, and he's dropping old school biscuits, which I really admire. But you know, being an early rap adopter, and I was around when Mr. Africa Bambaataa was a starter. When Bambaataa was a starter. Not necessarily when he was a starter, but certainly in the mid '80s. You know,
before he became a country.
Before he became a country, yes. I'm humbled, humbled and delighted, obviously, and to be called the pugilistic prophet. That's where it's at.
But you are, because yet again, and we're going to talk about this. A year ago, 2 years ago, 7 lifetimes ago, when African Bambaataa was just a mere city, we talked about how things were going to change in the world of boxing. And it looks like yet another thing seems to be coming true. Like, what is going on? Tell me what you know about this deal with Boxer.
Well, we said it. What we said was there was a table. No matter what the Universal Boxing Organization looked like, and we have our views on what that looks like, which I have to say appear to be certainly on the right lines at the moment. Don't want to say too much, just in case people like certain people who are watching, shall we say, are saying, I won't do it like that now because they're saying it's going to be like that. So we won't have a Legends League. Anyway, We've said there'd be a table set up, and certain people would be at that table. And one of the people we said who would be at that table was Ben Shalom, and the head honcho of Boxer. Now, it's been announced that he has a sponsorship deal. Let's not get too excited. He has a sponsorship deal for the new boxing world, shall we call it, which Dana White and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh have created or are about to create. That's partially because, and there's an awful lot of promoters, in a way, we've said this before, Ben Shalom is similar to, he's the antithesis of Jake Paul, but he's quite similar in that he doesn't do the promoting stuff that other promoters might wear, suit, big coat, a certain way of speaking, all of that, nothing wrong with that. But as Dana White says, they've been doing that for a million years. He does this slightly differently. He doesn't go on social media very much, and he does deals. And he did a deal with Sky Sports. And when that was over, people were very keen to say, and I saw a phrase, I'm paraphrasing, but I saw they would dance on his grave was a phrase I saw, because what was said was that all his talent would be getting picked off. That didn't happen. And now he's got a deal with the BBC. Now, he hasn't got very many dates a year. I think it's 3. However, that name has such cachet, much more than Sky Sports, I would say, worldwide. It's so important, the BBC. It's got far more importance. If you were living in the UK, there's an enormous attack on the BBC at the moment to defund it because you have to pay a license fee. But it carries a cachet abroad. And that might be one of the reasons. But he's been invited into the big tent to say, why don't you come and join us? And that is what we said would happen. He's at the table, and we said it.
Yeah, he absolutely. And it looks like October 25th. It looks like he's going to be doing the first one there. And you've seen who's at the top of this. He's got Fraser Clark and Jamie TKV. I'm okay with this fight being for the first outing, because if you remember Jamie TKV's last fight and how that one went, and you remember Fraser Clark's last fight, this is two heavyweights, 2 young guys, because you can't get your boy, because that's the guy that Jamie TKV lost to last time. Let's just say that right now. But this is an excellent fight. But here's what I don't like about this, Steve. This is for a belt. I don't know if you heard this one or not. It's for a belt. It's for the BBBFC title. That's right. The British Boxing Board of Control British heavyweight title. So because the BBC, it's the BBFC. No, the BBBFC. And that's just too many B's. And even that's more B's than we even talk about here, Steve. Talk about all the B's. Now they've just thrown like 9 more B's into this.
Is this the business bullshit of British boxing? Is that what you're saying? I don't. The thing is, in a way, the British Boxing Board of Control has always been an organisation that has kind of stood. It's sort of, it makes its pronouncements, and people say, and it's that sort of thing, but it's not really a major player. It's not sort of involved. But if there's a belt,
right,
they've now become a sanctioning body.
Yeah.
So how is that going to play? Now I have to say, you're right about the Fraser Clark and the TKV fight. I saw an article in which Fraser Clark, I think it was, said no overturned tables, none of that stuff, just dedication. That's the right thing to say when you are starting on the BBC.
Yes.
With a bowler hat and a rolled up umbrella, don't you know? Hip, hip.
I'm excited just to see how this whole thing looks when it airs. I'm excited about that because, listen, more promotions means more boxing. And I want to get into this very quickly because this is going to take up a bit of our time when we talk about more promotions. Is there a difference between a promotion and a league to you?
Well, I know why you're saying this because Dana White has said I'm not working with those promoters because they can go and do what they do. They've been doing it for a million years, as I said
Sure.
earlier. But a league does look like a promotion when you have two people up top saying, I will decide who fights who. Even though we have a league, we'll decide what the rules are. So it's like AI, isn't it? Well, AI can become sentient, but actually you need to program it first. So I'm going to be needing to put lots of zeros and ones in there to do it. So you will need someone to start that until it runs away. Have you seen War of the Worlds? Oh my God. So anyway,
Not the new one. Don't do the new one.
listen, it was made during lockdown and it was just held on to for ages. That's why it looks like it does.
It should have been left in frickin' lockdown. That's what it should have been.
However, Megan 2.0, I can heartily endorse. That shit is smart. So anyway, I do believe it looks like a promotion. Now, I think that I can't remember whether it was Dana White. I think it was a report on the financial call. What are these financial calls? I don't get any of these financial calls. Do you? Nobody says, stay on the line. I've got Vince McMahon for you. No one ever calls me. I mean, and I've got money, a load of money. But no one ever.
Yeah, I don't have any. That's where we're
Anyway,
different.
you're more likely to get a call than me because you can leverage that shit, whereas I can't. Anyway, I think it might have been the report for the financial call in which they said 12 events. But they also said, correct me if I'm wrong, if I misread this. They said, but we'll still be doing those big events. Like the Canelo and Crawford event.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're going to do those, as I said on my podcast recently, you're going to need to work with promoters because when you say, hey, open for business, guys, all those big boxers are not going to say, see you, Eddie, see you, Frank, see you, Oscar, I'm off to TKO. They're not going to do that. And that is why we have seen something happening around other promoters recently.
That's right. Yeah, we absolutely have. And here's the question, because it's come out. It's a little bit more, what it means to be a boxing league as opposed to a promotion, right? Because every boxer has a promotion. There's Golden Boy promotions. There's Mayweather, the Money Team promotions. All of these guys have their own things. But as far as like a league kind of goes, this has been tried before. If you think about it, PBC essentially was what they were trying to do by bringing all of these guys together to try to do it. And they were going to get these TV deals and they were going to do all of this great stuff. And PBC got sued. And they got sued because of the Ali Act, right? If I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong here because, brain trauma. But Heyman had a fantastic idea when trying to do PBC out the gate, but I think it just was too much. And I don't think that there was the right kind of verbiage inside of the Ali Act, which is the reason that they're not trying to take stuff out. They're trying to add stuff to, so that they don't get caught into this, because they saw what PBC did and how that kind of like PBC got up to the top and fell off drastically. So they're like, okay, let's not do the bad things that they did, but let's take the good things that they did. And PBC, if we remember correctly, fantastic cards that they would put on. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue. I think that the stuff that they add into along with the Ali Act, I think that's where it's going to get a little bit wonky. Because Dana White has even said, you can still go fight on any other thing and follow that Ali Act. That's fine. That's always going to be there for fighters. But inside of the league, you have to adhere to our version of the Ali Act, which is the Ali Act 2.0, which is going to have some amendments to keep people locked in because it's a TV show. Just like the UFC is not mixed martial arts, Zuffa boxing will not be boxing. It's not going to take over boxing. It's just going to be a league of boxers. So who do you put on top of that? How can you put people on top of that? There's only one viable solution, Steve. It's legends. You have to, because these are the guys that aren't under contract. And we're going to say it again. We're going to say it over and over and over. Steve Swift is the smartest guy in the world when it comes to trying to do what's right for business. Dana, give this man a job. You're going to need him. I'm just saying right now, that seems to be the way. So anybody who's got a problem with the pay structure and stuff like that, shut up. Shut up. How about that? You're not the one getting paid. You're not the one fighting. These guys are signing their contracts. They obviously looked at him and said, this is where I'm going to make the most money. This is where I'm going to get the most exposure. This is where it's going to be best for me and my career. Not you Cheeto fingers. All right. So just sit there and enjoy the fights because I'm going to enjoy the hell out of them.
Cheeto fingers.
Yes.
That sounds like a really bad mobster. Hey, Cheeto fingers.
It's a punk band from Portland.
Great. You are absolutely right. The way I envisage it is this, that the league, because there's going to be, as we said, all sorts of stuff. It's a grab bag of stuff, this. So you're going to have some MMA on it. You're going to have some reality TV on it. You're going to have slap fight on it, or power slap on it. Probably. Somebody mentioned it the other day. They're starting to talk about it on programs. That power slap's really popular in the States, right? If you're starting to talk about it on boxing shows, it's coming. So I think this league is going to be mid-card. I think it's going to be mid-card. I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be close, almost 50-50 fights. They were talking about yesterday on TalkSport, they were talking about, Spencer Oliver was talking about getting back to the small hall places and the small hall days, and well, you have to have 50-50 boxing there, and it's a pick and fight because people won't stand for anything else. So this kind of league will be close in that respect, and you are going to get some fighters that you've not seen before or that you knew of but have never seen.
Sure.
They're going to be fighting for less money, but as you say, you've got Ring Magazine connected to that, so you can suddenly get a story in that'll fly. And then on top, as you say, you've got your legends. And separately, you have, I'm speaking to Eddie and Frank, and we're going to get a big deal on this. And that's going to be a kind of pay-per-view or something on Paramount Plus or whatever it is. And so that's going to be separate, but part of. I don't think they will ever have that as part of their events, their 12 monthly events. So I think that's going to be a separate deal.
So let me ask you this, Steve, because there was fights that happened this past weekend. Very good fight, as a matter of fact. I think I messaged you after it saying this is probably one of the best round sixes I've seen in boxing in a long time. I'm talking about Nathaniel Collins and Cristobal Lorente. In a fight that was as good as it was, nobody knows who the hell these guys are. This is a perfect example of the type of fights that you could get inside of a league, inside of a Zuffa boxing league like that, because you're going to get great fights. I know, and Dana said it himself. I'm paraphrasing what Dana said when he said, when you tune in on a Saturday night, you're at home or wherever you are, you tune in and you know that the UFC fights are on, you know that you're going to get good fights. Not every fight, but you're going to get good fights. You're going to get your value. Well, that's to be decided. But you're going to get good, entertaining fights. I believe that that's going to be the case because as a business model, you don't want to set out there to fail. You don't want to set out there to be like, I'm just washing money and we're going to expose boxing and do Foxy boxing and blah, blah, blah. And we're only doing this so that Jake Paul looks even more silly. No, they're doing this because they need another place for His Excellency to get rid of some money. first and foremost. But they're going to want to have to make money at this. So they're going to have to put on good, compelling fights. And at some point, they're going to have to bring in some good, compelling names to attach to the not quite yet names to build those names up. I think a guy like a Keith Thurman is perfect for this, even though that he's fighting for a title. And he says the only reason that he's, been out so long is because of an injury and hasn't lost a step. But I don't think he understands how clocks work and time works. I think that the Legends thing is perfect because I think that a Terrence Crawford is perfect for that. And I want to get into that subject in a second. I think that, your good friend, the only guy I think that you're even closer with than Carl Froch, your buddy Paulie Malignaggi, has actually had to take a bare knuckle fight coming up. You know what I mean? He would be an ideal person to have in a league like that. Although I feel like he's probably shit talked the hell out of it up to this point, so he'd have to do some backpedaling. I don't know. I don't really listen to Paulie's stuff that much because, it's Paulie Malignaggi. But I think that these are the kind of guys that come with name value that could add some kind of like cachet out the gate when trying to build this league up. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. And let me just throw something in here.
Please.
All of the prevarication for the nation, the culmination, all of that with the, and I know you're gonna throw something in here. Either Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, but not that. Well, it could be that, or Tyson Fury versus AJ. Is all of that? Let's just take the Tyson Fury versus AJ, if you think that's going to happen. AJ, again, what they've done again is they've muddied the waters by saying, well, he can't go to Ghana, but he could go to Lagos, Nigeria, because the Emir Khan card did really well there, and it was really well done. And we've heard, I've heard nothing about it. A lot of people came back to me on my podcast and said, you must be looking in the wrong places. Must be. I must be. I'm only looking at boxing news most of the day, but I've heard nothing about it, but apparently it went very well. So what they're saying is we can have a rumble in the jungle too. You can't. No. But if they are saying this and they are throwing another one in, so now he's got Tony Yoka, Tyson Fury, Andre Ward, Jake Paul. Who else has he got? Martin Bacoli is being mentioned now. So if he's got all of that, and they're actually are, and we're talking about 10 people, are they just doing this so that they can say he's got the one last fight, and it will be for that organization, and it will be against Tyson Fury, and it will be their first Legends match?
I think you're absolutely right with that one. I don't see it. And I think that the reason that they're throwing all of those other names out there is because there is no other option. And so you throw all of those names out there to make it look, right? You're trying to glaze him, trying to fluff him up a little bit, trying to make it look like he's more important and more wanted in a fight than it really is. Because the names that you didn't mention are the guys other than AJ that he should be fighting, like a Moses Saitama, like a young guy like that, right? I think those are the types of guys, and you're not going to get those fights because there's not enough juice in there. There's not enough money in that. So that's why the only fight that makes sense for those two guys, and it's a perfect spot to have it happen, because there's no belts on the line, and you've got this thing on Paramount Plus. I mean, you need to have, and here's the thing that Dana knows. He understands the value of a Conor McGregor in the mixed martial arts. He understands the value of having that guy on contract, whether he's fighting or not, because when it comes time to negotiating for a deal or a TV, you need to have that. We have them for 2 fights, and you'd like to have those 2 fights on there, right? Absolutely. Well, Paramount Plus, would be over the moon if they could have AJ and Fury, old shithouse himself, right? I think that's the money.
It is. I'm asking you as well, because I want to keep hold of this. I don't want to lose it because it's such a neat idea of mine. Do you have, for instance, could you have, and I know I'm suggesting all sorts of things because it's open-ended, but could you have a Moses Saitama series, the British tour, but have it there and have a winner stays on situation. So Moses Ataumba, is he going to lose this week to David Adelaide? Is he going to lose next month to Martin Broccoli? Is he going to lose to Joshua Buatsi? Is he going to stay on? And who will he fight eventually? Open the door and it's Tyson Fury, or someone like that, or it's Nassim Hamed, who probably is a similar weight class. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, but somebody who was big, Lennox Lewis coming out from Italian and does something like that.
Yes,
I think that would be a lovely mini series for this boxing organization. But then you could have flower arranging. You could have baking. You could have anything you like because it's open, isn't it?
Well, I mean, speaking of having anything you like, since His Excellency Turki al-Sheikh was so giving in his prospects of money, he's sponsoring Boxer for the BBC, which is fantastic. Hey, Your Excellency, I'm looking for a sponsorship too. I'm just saying, just throwing it out there. We talk a lot of boxing, and some of which I'm sure that you have stolen from us. Allegedly. Ideas. Maybe.
Excellency, that's not my view. It's just him. I'm not throwing him under the bus or anything, but there you go.
Wow. And just like that, it's a one-man show. That's why it says the Bees of Boxing with Steve Swift. So that way I have complete anonymity, you ladies and gentlemen. But here's what I'm saying. Since he was so giving and doing all of this stuff and saying Ben Shalom, and that started up a little bit of an uproar. The British boxing royalty, if you will, got their knickers in a knot. And it looks like old EH is mad. He got a little upset about all of that, and he had to have a little meeting. With the Secretary of Money and said, hey, can you break me off a little something there? And His Excellency said, you know what, Eddie? I tell you what, here's what we're going to do. We are going to break you off a little something. And Eddie went right out and said, yeah, I got myself a deal. Got a deal with His Excellency. Went to the rafters. And it looks like everybody was thinking Eddie Hearn got a deal with Riyadh season, and it's going to be promoted. And that's fantastic, which I'm sure there might be a little bit of something to that. But I think that there needed to be some clarification, Eddie. It looks like the big news for Hearn Entertainment, or whatever it is that it's called, that Barry seems to be very much still a part of. God bless his old ass soul. It looks like it's not boxing. It's not boxing, Steve. No. You can have some money, Eddie, but what we're really interested in, the thing that we think you're really excelling in, that you really get your nose into, the thing that we think you're the best at promoting. That's right. We want darts. And I'm not talking about cigarettes in Newfoundland, and I'm not talking about little Mexican wrestlers and Kevin Nash. We want actual darts. Pub beer drinking darts. The most athletic of human beings this side of baseball players, ladies and gentlemen. Darts.
Yes. Yeah. It's got to be galling for Eddie, because it's actually Barry, his dad, who has the snooker and darts, really. But darts in this country is enormous. So, it's what, 5,000 people, maybe even more, in enormo clubs. They come dressed up. They do, they got characters. There's a breakaway league. So like a kind of lots of money and all of that for the breakaway league. They've got a young, fairly local to us, dart player, Luke Littler, who is young and now, and a champion. And he doesn't have very much charisma, but he's very nice. and people love it. And there's lots of beer bought, and there's lots of shouting, and it's quite a cauldron. So it would be a good, if you turn the lights up a bit and put some lasers in, it would be quite a good night. A bit like Power Slap.
I think you combine both. I think you combined the violence with the darts, and maybe it's something that you have to be able to dodge darts, and maybe you're throwing darts not at a board, but a painted on board on somebody's back or somebody's chest, or you have them fight. You have them fight for a minute, and then in between rounds, they have 30 seconds where they just, as soon as they get back to their corner, they can throw darts at each other from across. Because really, this is what we're doing. We're throwing little tiny at one another, right?
Yeah. Or have
feel like a giant.
Or have a dart on a stick match, so that the first person to scale in their 30 seconds or a minute, while between legs, get up there and throw the darts at each other.
Or you combine the two, because if Barry's already got snooker as well, throwing darts at the person while they're trying to take their snooker shots. I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
And if you foul, you take a snooker cue either to the back or to the twig and berries area.
Nice, like a lever.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I think it really works. It's better than Power Slap.
Well, I mean, anything really is right now. That is absolutely, 100%. Every time I see a clip coming up, I'm like, you people are savages. You're absolute savages.
Would it surprise you to know that I watch it avidly?
Not at all. Not at all, because I think that you watch everything that is violent. I think that all of this is a giant facade, and you are actually a savage who dresses up as your local vigilante and just rides around on the tube all day long, not doing anything, just dressed up as a vigilante riding the tube so people notice you. That's what kind of a savage I think you are, Steve Swift.
Hoping that there's no trouble so I don't have to run away.
That's right, because you'd be the first person. You'd be like dressing up as one of those guardian angel guys, Tony Siwa or whatever, right? And like, help me. I was like, this is just a costume.
I don't want to get blood on this.
Stolen valor.
I paid a lot of money.
Stolen valor of vigilantes. Yes. Is that Bernard Getz? No. I just dressed up him as Halloween. Sir, it's June. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to get ahead of the game.
You could be right. I can't confirm or deny this because of my impending court case, but you could be right.
Now, let's talk about, since we're on the topic of crazy, let's talk about this crazy idea right here. And you and I have kind of mentioned this. And a man has a fight coming up. I'm talking about David Benavidez. And he finally found somebody to fight him, because he's the guy that even Jake Paul has said, I'll fight anybody. I'll fight anybody who's smaller than me. I'll fight Canelo, who's smaller than me. I'll fight Crawford, who's smaller than me. I'm going to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, who's very much smaller than me. I'll fight your 6-year-old cousin, who's going to be smaller than him. But the one person that Jake says he won't fight is David Benavidez. The Mexican monster himself, he will not fight. And he's not the only one. I could understand why Jake Paul wouldn't fight him, because Jake Paul is not even close to that level of fighter. But professional boxers with good records are all lining up to be, I'm good. I'm not fighting David Benavidez, right? We saw what he did to David Morrell. I'm not fighting David Benavidez. Anthony Yarde is stepping up to one hell of a task. Kudos to Anthony for doing this one, and I hope it works out well, because this is a tough task for David. Don't get it twisted. Anthony is the real deal and should step up to fight this, especially when nobody else is. Why do you think nobody wants to fight David Benavidez?
Because he combines that kind of, and they call him the monster. He's always called a monster, and he is enormous, and he has precision, and he has movement, and he has patience, and he has a killer instinct. He's pretty much, he ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? So when someone, so that in your camp, if you're saying, okay, let's watch tape, right? How are we going to get what's the weakness? Okay, that's a very quick answer. There aren't any. Anthony Yard is stepping up because, and I agree. Kudos to him. I can't see it ending well for him, but kudos to him. In a way, whatever happens, and I think he will lose. But if he doesn't lose really badly, I think that he will get kudos, and consequently, he will free up some other opportunities for himself. Because I don't think he was really, there wasn't an enormous amount available to him. So to make this step is a big step. It's like saying I'm moving to Los Angeles because I want to become a Hollywood actor.
Right. Well, I mean, listen, the porn industry is never ending, so there's always a shot. Here's the thing, though, with David Benavidez, he holds the WBC belt for light heavyweight, 175 pounds. Who holds the other three? Dmitry Bivol. That's who's holding the other three. So realistically, that's who he should fight. The weight class below him is all held by one man. That is Terrence Crawford. The weight class above him is a bit of an abysmal mess too, because that's cruiserweight, and that's where you have Opataya, Badu Jack. Who am I missing here? I forget right now, right? But you have, a lot of guys that are there. In heavyweight, it's Alexander Usyk. So there's not a lot of unification for all of it right now. And at light heavyweight, there should be. So if you want my opinion, I think that David Benavidez needs to figure it out. And Dmitry Bivol needs to figure it out. And they need to make that fight happen early next year. I think that the problem is that the Beterbiev name came into play too often, and the Beterbiev Bivol fight became, as good as it was, right? Both times. I believe that that's done now. Now you got to move on. You had the chance to get that done. You had your opportunities. Now it's done. Now we have to move on, and that's the fight to make, if you ask me. And that's Benavidez Bivol, 100%.
Absolutely, and one of the reasons why the Beterbiev fight was thought about first was because the media did that thing that they're now doing for Benavidez, which was, well, Beterbiev is a monster who is unbeatable. So now they're doing that thing for Benavidez. We'll move on to the next one then. He's unbeatable. Now, both great fighters. Benavidez is silkier. So consequently, he's so tough to beat, Tidster. He's so tough. He's in every area. You think, well, for a big man who can move, all of that and the punch and everything else, and the precision and the choice. It's tough, really tough. And Bivol is the kind of character who will say, "Yeah, come on, let's do this."
Yeah, 100%. When you talk about tough fighters and you talk about the best in the world, you absolutely have to talk about Terrence Crawford right now. He did something that, very few people, Dmitry Bivol, one of them, has done, and that's beat Canelo Alvarez. So now you've got his name that could possibly be in that mix for something like that. Here's the problem that I see with it, if I'm being honest with you, is, first of all, Crawford would have to stop aging, first of all, because it looks like his coach in that has said that he wants $100 million for his next fight. Well, no matter what happens in the weight class above you, below you, or the one that you're in, all of your biggest fights are already set up right now. So it's going to be next year before you're fighting. You're going to be 40. I know that doesn't mean a heck of a lot in a lot of other things, but in the world of combat sports, that's huge. So you're going to go down back to 160. Carlos Adames, Arislandi Lara. I don't think there's is those are dangerous fights for Terence Crawford, but I don't think there's any meat on those bones. The only fight for Terence Crawford at this point is either Alexander Usyk or David Benavidez. I think those are the ones that you have to make. And the David Benavidez one isn't going to happen anytime soon. And I think that the price tag along with it is only going to be able to be afforded by one person and one person only. So does His Excellency think that there's enough on that to make that fight? What do you think?
You see, what I think's happened with Terence Crawford, and there are two things. I think that, as I've always said, the fight against Canelo was something that neither of them really were excited about. It's just something that we, as the fans and the media, wanted. And it was, who can they fight next? I know. Let's make him come up a couple of weight classes because, so it did seem like a bit of a freak show. The fight changed my mind about that. And he's, in a way, he's done something extraordinary. Not in a way, he has done something extraordinary, but he's danced himself into a corner, as you just so eloquently put it, because there's now very little he can. There are very few places he can go. He pulled off something extraordinary. Can you do that twice? Can you catch that lightning in a bottle twice? I think it's more difficult second time around, particularly against someone like David Benavidez.
Here's a question for you, though. Hold on. There's a question very quickly, though, because yes, he beat the best in the business. He beat the best boxer boxing today. He beat a generational superstar. But so did Bivol. And it did nothing for him. It did absolutely nothing for him. Why?
I think it's because of the weight situation. So I think it's, with Crawford, because of the weight bully situation. So correct me if I'm wrong, Canelo was saying, I'll come up to meet you on that. So I'm the one here who is taking the chance. With Crawford, he's saying, I'm the one who's taking a massive chance here, because if my power and my movement don't come up, I'm finished and I'm in the hospital. So I think it could be that.
So it leads to say, I mean, it's fair to say then that everybody gets behind the smaller fighter moving up. But when the smaller fighter is not the smaller fighter, everybody tells him to go F his hat.
I think that happens in the media. I think because we love the underdog story, don't we? In Britain, we certainly do. So, we love that underdog. We love that. Surely Terence Crawford cannot do this. You've also got and I have to say, the arrogance of Canelo. He's choosing to do this. He doesn't want to fight William Skull. Doesn't want to do that. He's kept us waiting. And what a shit fight it was eventually. He's not the fighter he was, and yet he thinks he's great. He's not. So there's also that as well. So I a lot of people really felt for and were behind Terence Crawford. And we said, and I said many times, and I'm not keen on Canelo, you know that. But I said, well, if he puts him, if he does this, done. I think it is done for Canelo. But for Terence Crawford, the other thing is, he's done this extraordinary thing. There is a wonderful. It's a sitcom. I think it's Frasier, when he gets the Man of a Lifetime award, and he takes it and says, I just think, what do I do tomorrow? So you've got that.
Yeah.
So what is he going to do next? Whatever he does is down. Even if it's dangerous, it's down. So I think this 100 million is something to do with, I don't really fancy it.
We've all done. I used to do it all the time. I've done it plenty of times in my pro wrestling career. If there's something that I don't want to do, I'll price myself out so that you can't afford to book me. It's that simple. And I think that that's what's happening as well, Steve. Steve, before we go ahead, please finish your thought.
Well, I was just going to say the same thing's kind of happening, although with the more petulance for Gervonta Davis. So, you know, because he was saying even before the Mont Roach fight, I don't want this shit anymore. It's trash. We saw he didn't want it when he was in the ring. And this is him really saying, I don't want it. He's saying he's retiring anyway. He's saying, I don't want it. And I'm pissing all over boxing because I'm going to micturate all over it by taking this fight because I don't really care for boxing anymore. He looks like, to me, it's quite difficult to watch. He looks like someone who's being forced to fight. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I wouldn't say that, but it looks like it.
He's looking for an out, or he's looking for that out because he got handled that way. Maybe he sees because he watches boxing, and when you see that happens to somebody who's at the top of their game and somebody comes in and handles them, you know what's coming next. That dude's going to get dusted, right? And he doesn't want to be that guy. So maybe he's doing the thing and saying, he's trying to do the ugly breakup, where if I make it look as bad as possible, it's easier for me to walk away. I think you could be onto something there. Steve, I want to ask you, because it is Halloween season and you do music reviews, who's the best metal band in horror movies? Is it Armored Saint? Or could it be my friend, your friend, everybody's friend, Fast Eddie Clark and Fastway? What you got?
It's got to be Fastway because I've got a history with Fastway. By the time of that Trick or Treat, isn't it? I was kind of, because the first album was extraordinary and then Waiting for the Roar wasn't so good. I'd pitch another name in, and it's lovely granddad Alice Cooper, because of his great performance in a terrible movie. What is it? It's the John Carpenter one with Donald Pleasance. What's that one called?
With Alice Cooper? Oh, geez.
Yeah, with Alice Cooper. He plays a. It's about the devil coming. I went to see it at the cinema because it's Alice Cooper and Donald Pleasance, who I dearly love, and John Carpenter. And you know what? It's crap. And at the time I was disappointed. So I went, I do this all the time. I thought I must give it another chance. But, British, play the game. So I gave it another chance. Prince of Darkness, it's called, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, and then you got to throw in, I mean, if you're going to go there, you got to throw in Dee Snider, Strangeland. I mean, there's a number of them that have done that, but I just mean for straight up bands, I think you're right. I think you have to go with Fastway and Fast Eddie Clark. Although, anytime you can get a bit in a Hellraiser movie, Armored Saint, come on, they showed out.
Great band. I mean, yes, I agree with you, but I do love the performances as well. Ozzy Osbourne in These people are evil. Great. I do remember that, thinking, this is fantastic. Ozzy, just great.
Fantastic stuff. All right, Steve, as usual, thank you so much. For all of you out there, please go check out that Laz the Third song. Go check out Steve over at World Weary Guy 1. And be sure to like, subscribe, hit all of those things that we do here. This is the Bees of Boxing. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, Steve, you know two things, right? What are the two things that we know around here? That's right. Say it.
We're Italians for the children.
Oh, he almost got through it, ladies and gentlemen. But that's right. Wu-Tang is for the children. Tuck your chin, please.